Reverend Steve, keeping it simple. We're still talking about the Antichrist, and we're talking about his kingdom. And we brought that up yesterday, 2 shows ago, about that the kingdom becomes before the king. And I've done a full series on that. And to understand the Antichrist, you have to understand that the kingdom comes before the king. And this speaks about the kingdom. And I think I've laid out a pretty good case to look at it a little differently with taking him out and adding it, as this scripture talks about. And we're going to be reading it. That it's a little better to understand, as the angel describes, that, I've laid that case out too, that ahead is nations, 7 nations or 7 kingdoms, and the horns are kings, as the scripture clearly tells us. So when we see this, we see a head wound, right? We see something happens to a nation or a part of a group of nations, and it is wounded, and it comes back to life. Now, we think about all the financial things that are going on right now. Is that the wound? I don't know. I'm not here to guess that. But when it comes about, we will know, because what will happen is a great persecution will come upon believers. And that's what this talks about. That many of us will be persecuted when this event happens. Before the Antichrist comes on the scene, which talks about in verse 11, that another beast rises, the one from the earth. And you notice that, and if I've done teaching, I've got a little itch on my nose. I've done teachings on that, about the 2 beasts. And that's a great study within itself. The beast from the ocean is beast from humanity. The ones God set up. The beast that rises from the earth is man-made. It's a man-made kingdom. And that's where the Antichrist sprouts from, that man-made kingdom. So we see what happens is all the kingdoms of the world, this is going a little different than I expected. All the kingdoms of the world are the first beast that rises with the 7 heads and the 10 horns. That represents the West, or whatever you want to call it, the nations of the earth, that God has set up from the beginning. That set up. And now what happens is it's wounded. And a new beast rises from the earth. And that beast from the earth is the Antichrist kingdom. That rises, as I talked about the other day, rises in the midst of the beast while it's still there. And as we see what's going on, that beast is rising right now before our eyes. As I said, this got a little bit long. I didn't get into the scripture. But we're going to get into the scripture tomorrow and talk about it a little bit more. God bless.